We're coming out dangerous.
Rockets going off.
Sometimes the brightest stars shine for the shortest amount of time.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They heard us all across Tallahassee after that one.
We got to bring home the W.
Oh yeah, we're gonna destroy them.
Put them on the Heisman watch.
They're fine, man.
Big Ben Player of the Year.
We're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
I played a little adult league goalie.
I felt like I scored in the World Cup, but I didn't even score.
Controversy? Question mark?
Pure chaos.
To go crazy was insane.
Chris Petley, he was the defensive MVP of the 2019 season.
Oh yeah, no, I'm in my prime right now. Let's go.
And welcome to episode 19. That's right, season 2 here of the podcast. Coming on back with you, getting ready for season number 3 of Tallahassee Soccer Club. This is the Tally SC Talk podcast. Andrew Joop, and I'm joined by my buddy in red. He's going red out here today. Trent, how we doing, big man?
Doing well, man. Just representing. Got to show some love to the dogs. Got to cater to that South Georgia community we have here at the Tallahassee Soccer Club. So it's been a nice off season, but very excited to get back in it with you, man. So how have we been doing?
Good, man, good. I'm amped as well, dude. We're talking about it just February that we're going to get this rocking and rolling. Early February, of course, the season to start late April, early May, of course, that time of year. But we're ready to get going now, man. And there's so much that's been happening. There's so much excitement around the program, so many changes, and so many big things, some that we can talk about, some that we cannot talk about, Trent. Of course, some things still in the works. But, of course, some topics that we are ready to get going. 2022, Trent, our first conversation is TSC is back and in the NPSL, man. So we wondered if we would be able to stick around and how that would go first season. What's kind of your evaluation and thoughts going in here as we quickly get rolling here for the 22 season, which, of course, will be the second one for TSC here in the NPSL, of course, in the Gulf Coast Conference down here.
For sure, man. So I think last season was a really good year, first year in the NPSL, inaugural season, and I think we showed a lot of promise, a lot of players that hopefully will be returning. You know, you never can quite tell who's going to be back with a team like this, but we're eager to see everybody from last year, plus some of the U19 kids. They've been balling out, and we'll talk about that later. But yeah, no, just really excited to see where they go from here in year 3 as a club, year 2 in the NPSL. So, hopefully we get Cousin Cy back, Johnny, all those guys, and just start balling out and pick right back up where we left off, man.
Absolutely. So as we're recording this, still no official schedule out yet. We've been told to anticipate a schedule later this week. Of course, this is the first week of February. We're hoping to get it out by the weekend, but at the latest, we'll get you sometime in the second week of February, depending on when you're listening to this. So who knows? But by the time we record next or this goes public, we probably will have the schedule release here for the NPSL. Of course, it will be a soft schedule, of course, a tentative schedule, whether, you can pick your poison on wording and stuff. But I was talking with the president, Chris Petley, of course, affectionately known as Petley or the Prez, and he said it will be a tentative schedule to make sure they work out any kind of issues. Trent, and so we'll have a little bit of an idea of what we can look forward to here for this upcoming summer, but we do know first week of the season, whether TSC will start or not on week 1 is to be determined because, of course, a little fewer games this season, it looks like, from the look of things. How have things changed in the NPSL Gulf Coast Conference compared to last year?
Unfortunately, Port City has folded. They will no longer be in the Gulf Coast Conference of the NPSL with us. And our rivals in the 850 Cup, one of the 3 teams in the 850 Cup, that would be Pensacola. They are no longer in the Gulf Coast Conference as well. A little bit of a reduced schedule, but at the same time, it's still a 2-month season, give or take. So we'll still get a lot of good action coming this summer.
Yeah, absolutely. Going from 8 teams in 2021 to a 6-team conference here in the 2022 season. So what that means, it's a 10-game slate, Trent, to what we anticipated of potentially being 14 games like we had last year. But it's an interesting one because as part of that scheduling, we talked about it, the 850 Cup with Pensacola FC folding in the NPSL, they will still have other teams within their organization. Just like last year, we didn't really care about them in the Gulf Coast Premier League, to be honest, but I think they had 2 teams in the GCPL, which we played in TSC in the inaugural season. But then both of our teams went up and graduated into the NPSL, up to that level 4 of the pyramid, Trent, not down there in level 5. So the word is, Trent, that Pensacola FC will be on the schedule, at least at home. Whether it will be a home and away game, that's still to be determined. Once again, word from the president. He has talked to the Roots and PFC, and between the three of us, they are working out some kind of round robin. So the A50 Cup is still on the table. It won't all be league-sanctioned games, Trent, but we're going to get a cup back in play, and Pensacola is not just going to steal it from us after they won it last year. Hopefully we'll be able to get this one back, but only the games against the Roots will go into our league standings. So basically it's a friendly exhibition, whatever you want to call it. So it takes our games officially down to 10, but we will have a total of 12 when you include at least one PFC game and the preseason game as well. So 6.5 home games in a 12-game slate. So 12, still a little better than 10, man. But what are you thinking about the losses of the conference? We talk about the A50, but Pensacola was one of the hottest teams down the stretch, and they gave us some really good games, including that 3-3 thriller on the road out in Pensacola. And, of course, Port City was a wild competition as well. We had 2 drastically different games with them over the course of the season. But what's going to be your lasting memory, your biggest impact of these 2 teams now not being in the Gulf Coast Conference here, the NPSL?
Great question, Joop. So I think that Pensacola was a real wild card. We saw them, we were kind of at the bottom of the table for the majority of the year last year, and Pensacola was down there with us for a good bit. And, we tied them, I believe it was the 3rd game of the season, 3-3, like you said. And then they got hot at the end of the year. They ended up winning the cup, which I definitely thought TSC was going to get their hands on that trophy first year, would have been stoked, but that's all right. At least we got a second year to be able to contend for that. So I'm very eager to see both the Roots and Pensacola, and hopefully we get both the home and away. But hail to the Chief for doing his homework and trying to get that cup back in our hands. So yeah, we'll see.
That was a fun rivalry that I think everybody really kind of got into from those 3 clubs. It wasn't like it was one team really pushing the cart and then the other 2 were just like a forced rivalry. Like, people were legit into that, and there was a legit palpable excitement not only between the clubs themselves but the fan bases as well. And there's a good bit of pride that went into that, of course, between the 3 teams. Pensacola, of course, winning that kind of going away that last game of the season, or the last game of the Cup when they played the Roots. So there was still an opportunity where TSC could get a share of the Cup. But we got to get that bad boy back, man. We got to get that back in Tallahassee, of course. We minted it. And I say we, but it was the Supporters Club. So shout out to the Old Fields Battalion, the Supporters Club here at TSC. If you're just new with us, thanks for coming aboard. But they kind of got things going with the A50 Cup. Of course, the 3 teams that were in the A50 area code in the Panhandle, it was Pensacola, Panama City, the Roots, and us, of course, Tallahassee Soccer Club, our Battle Lions. But, of course, going to PFC last year. Port City, we had been told, Trent, that wasn't really a surprise. But I was really surprised Pensacola, especially on the women's side. They have a fantastic amateur/semi-professional kind of pedigree. And, of course, having the multiple teams in the GCPL, I would think that there would be enough kind of feeder program. But for whatever reason, of course, there's so much, as we know. And the more we get into it, the more we kind of learn about non-league and small-time soccer, lower division soccer, however you want to phrase it, down in that 4th, 5th, 6th level of the pyramid here in the U.S., But I was pretty surprised. I don't know about you. Port City, we had been told a while back, kind of around the holidays, that they were probably looking like a no-show this year. But to me, very shocked. And now we're down to 6. That's one of the things I prided myself in, or I thought was most enjoyable or cool about our league. We had so many teams in there. 8 teams, so we would have 7 different games. We were tied for the biggest conference in the entire nationwide National Premier Soccer League. So now we're down to 6, and it's going to give a little bit of a different feel to it. But your thoughts, I guess, kind of going forward, not to belabor the point, but against a no-show for Pensacola.
Well, I guess my initial thought, Joop, is I'm just excited that we can still have the A50 Cup, and I don't mean to keep harping on that, but that is a really cool trophy. We had it on display a couple of times at the stadium last year, and it's just cool to see, the supporters get behind their teams and try to rally for something, even if they're not in contention to win the league. At least they got some hardware that they can take home, brag about on Twitter or what have you. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, no, the games just are going to mean more. Like you said, we go from one of the biggest conferences in the NPSL, 8 teams down to 6. So, we're still playing Jacksonville twice, and that just means more. Same thing with Mobile, with the Jesters and everybody else. But yeah, those games against Pensacola, at least in the league, will be missed. It was fun, and you never know what you were going to get from them, at least based off of last year alone. We thought that the Roots and Pensacola, those were 2 easier teams. No offense to them, but just based off early standings, early outcomes in the year, that's what it was looking like. And then, like you said, Pensacola just got on that tear, and they just went off wild, ended up winning the cup and everything. So it was pretty crazy, but we're going to get that bad boy back, man. I don't have any doubt about that.
Yeah, for sure. Because like you said, they legit mean more. Because, of course, in the old structure with a 14-game schedule, each game makes up about 8% share of your season. It's between 7 and 8%. It's a decimal, of course. But now with a 10-game stretch, that's 10% of your season, man. So you talk about playing those teams that you referenced. So New Orleans, the home and away game that we have against New Orleans, is now 20% of our schedule right there. So it's 1/5. Each team is 1/5. So if you take 2 L's against a team, that's gonna be tough to get in that top 4, man. It's gonna be a gauntlet here in the 6. It's kind of a survival of the fittest. There's no really leeway here, and of course, as all these teams are growing, I think the competition's only going to be higher than it was last year, especially when you look at the Roots, because it was their first year overall. I think they will be a lot higher than they were last year. And competition league-wide, of course. We know Jacksonville. We know New Orleans is going to bring it. Southern states, from what we saw year one, and the bankroll that they're bringing to the table and that facility and everything else, giving them another year to keep the operation going, I think we can anticipate a higher level of competition here. So is TSC going to be up to it? We'll see, man. That's going to be the fun. But we're going to believe, and we're hoping for a great season. But like you said, it's going to get in the thick of it. And late April, we're lifting off. Like we said, week 1 is April 30th, unofficially a preseason game. We're looking towards April 23rd, that Thomas University game up in Thomasville. So that's why I say 6.5 home games on the schedule. So that technically will be away. But, it's just a short drive away here for Tallahassee. But we'll have those 5 league home games, the 1 Pensacola home game, and then that Thomasville, of course, exhibition match. Trent, but any other thoughts here of the NPSL before we move on to our next topic, man? There's so much we got to get to.
Nah, Jude, let's not keep the people in the dark. Let's go ahead and give them what they want, man.
Absolutely. So let's keep on trucking. That'll do it all for the league top. We're going to jump out for a quick break, come right on back with some U19 talk and the future of the club. And welcome back to Tally SC Talk podcast here. Getting into our next segment, we talked about the changes in the NPSL, but let's talk about a new development in the offseason is the U19 team. Obviously very successful to start things off, getting to the finals of the conference. Unfortunately, unable to bring it home. But we're not going to talk about the season of the U19s, but we're just going to give you kind of a highlight of the preview and some of these other guys that could be jumping up, Trent. As, of course, it'll be a segment down the road as we start talking about tryouts in this season upcoming for TSC. But we got to talk about the youth movement, man. Of course, in the city, in the Big Bend, a number of guys having a fantastic year. Some of them still alive in the playoffs for their schools. So they're no longer playing for the U19 TSC team like they did in the fall after the senior team in the summer. There is another season upcoming in the spring, which will be fun to watch for the U19s. Trent, we could add some state championships to the resumes of these young guys and potentially when they jump up to the senior team. But what schools or guys have got you excited and that you're really impressed that we got to have a shout-out here for as we recap and what could be the future here of TSC going forward?
For sure, Joop. So I think I'd be remiss if I didn't start out by saying Cade Swart is just on an absolute tear this season. His team only has 1 loss. They're still in the playoffs, just tearing it up. He's got 19 goals and 8 assists, just wrecking shop, man. So that's somebody that we could definitely use on the U19 team, even on the senior team going forward. A lot of these guys played on our senior team middle and towards the end of the season last year. At Kyle Otis, Ethan Stewart, like the top two that I can remember. And it's really cool, like you said. So they go as soon as the summer is done with the senior team. We've got the U19 season, and then if you're new to soccer, that's right when high school soccer season starts. It's right there in the fall, like September, October. I guess not September. That's still football. October, November-ish is when it starts really gearing up. And so they go from that season together, or even apart. They're playing on their school team. Then they get to be reunited again in the fall, or I'm sorry, in the spring. They get to be reunited again, and they're able to just play with each other, pretty much year round. And so if they make it to the senior team, if any of these guys are able to get up there, then they already know everyone's playing tendencies, and hopefully they're going to the games, watching some of these senior guys as well to build some of that chemistry up. But yeah, man, Kyle Lotus, Ethan Stewart, Chase Smith, these are just some ballers. Cade Swart and Kyle Lotus both go to Childs. Childs is really looking good, and they've got an excellent program. I remember my high school coach, my senior year, he came from Childs and would just always rant and rave about how great of a program they were, and just try to get under our skin and try to get us to build something like that, but they're a great program. So really excited to see Childs and Leon, Lincoln, whoever else is still available in the playoffs. Very eager to see if they're able to come home with some hardware.
You talk about those guys on Childs, of course, that are still rolling here. Only the one loss. They're currently the top dog in their classification of Region 1. So district champs as of the last week of January defeated Buchholz 3-0 at Leon High School to clinch the district. So they get an automatic bid in the postseason. They will be hosting a home game round 1, which will come soon, probably depending on the time you're listening to this, sometime either first or second week of February after recording. So Childs is in, Leon on the bubble. So Leon was another team in that Childs district. You talk about Swart going back to Childs, Trent, as I'm circling around. Terrible order of operations. I'm sure I'm just mentally wrecking people who are not on the visual feed. But we'll try to post up a little graphic here of the district tournament. Childs 3-0 victory. Swart, your boy, dropped 2 goals in the district championship. Clinch it. He said, I'm leaving, no doubt. Putting Childs on my back in the playoffs. So you talk about his teammate, Otis, 6 goals, 4 assists here this season for him. Another big part of that U19 team. We talk about Leon also being in Childs District. They got bumped by Buchholz in the semis. They went to a 0-0 tie late in that one, and they gave Buchholz all they could handle, but an upset there by the Bobcats got them into the finals against Childs. So Leon is going to be on the bubble here, Trent, potentially making the postseason. Of course, they would have to beat one of those at-large teams. You got to go to the rankings, and you got that whole mess, the equation that they do here. So Leon is kind of sitting on their hands, seeing if they can get into the finals here. But they were an exciting one as well. You also talk about Chase Smith, 4 goals, assists this season. Lincoln, not going to make the playoffs the way it looks like on the points. You talk about other guys on the team coming from Gabi, Florida High. Florida High, as we record, is actually currently playing for a state championship. And I say state championship, that's a lie. I say district championship. They're playing McClay tonight, so they could potentially lock up an automatic seed, though it will look like Florida High will get into the 3A classification bracket. I believe that they're in. They should get an at-large bid, even if they were to lose to McClay here tonight. But all that to say, man, is some big things coming from these U19 guys, and it'll be cool to see going forward, like you talked about, Trent, like we've discussed in the past, of kind of developing a feeder system, because it's something that a lot of these bigger organizations have a youth program to be able to graduate them to the senior team, and it's been a really successful recipe. You see it in Jacksonville, you see it in New Orleans, and those are kind of the mainstays of our conference, being able to develop and go forward. And, of course, that was kind of the basis of the Roots organization. The Roots were a youth organization, and they just added a senior team on the top, so they have that natural progression as well, Trent. But cool to see how that will continue to develop, but impressive so far for them. Also, looking forward to some of our Georgia guys. You can't forget about Bainbridge. You can't forget about Thomasville, because the Georgia season is just getting started. Of course, you talk about Masonard, and then you have the record setter last year, Andrew Geyer, goal scorer machine. These are guys that also had a successful U19 season that we saw with the senior team going on here, but we could potentially see them this year as well. And Trent, it's going to be exciting because we bring the U19 guys up. we'll have some features coming on later down the line. Of course, we'll get into that a little later, but we're going to hear from some of these U19 guys, their experience, the maiden voyage of the U19 program in this past fall, and they did a lot of cool stuff. So we'll get into that in the weeks to come as a build-up towards the season, because, we've got 2 months of content we got to fill, Trent. But any other thoughts about these U19 guys, or how do you feel about the future in these guys' hands?
No, dude, I'm very excited for the future. And speaking of the future, another player I meant to mention, Ryan Daunt. He's the younger brother of former McClay Marauder Drew Daunt, also plays at TSC. So hopefully he'll, be there at the tryout and everything, try to get him out there eventually one day if he's old enough to get on the team. So excited about him and his future. He's been having a good season at McClay. But, really, man, just all those schools there in Tallahassee, even creeping up into Georgia, there's just such a big area and so much talent that comes out of these schools year in and year out that we're just able to pick from. If we're lucky enough, they don't go off to college, get a D1 scholarship or something like that, But, yeah, man, just excited. And like you said, Andrew Geyer, he was one of the bright spots. He set a school record for most goals scored when he was there at his school up at Thomas. So I'm excited to hopefully see him again, either for the U19s or if he's old enough at this point, which he'll be getting close to be on the senior team. So.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely old enough, man. You is 16 plus. You just got to be 16, man, to get on the senior team. 16 and up will do the job. Like we said, it took Tyler Sloan last year. We talked about him. He's another guy, of course, the goalkeeper, the young keeper over at Lincoln. Under the tutelage of Coach Bruno, of course, our senior team and the U19 coach, of course, Lincoln. So a little pipeline there as well over on the east side of town. But Sloan, it took him towards, the second or third game of the season that he became eligible to be part of the senior team, turning 16. So he'll be fun to watch, too. Future of the goalkeeping program. Crazy, we had the 16-year-old. He was on a couple game day rosters towards the end of that season last year in the 2021 season of the NPSL, so it'll be fun to watch. So, all that conversation to be said, if you haven't seen these U19 guys on the U19 field or for their schools, there's still going to be some guys in the postseason, and they will be playing some Tallahassee games. Like we said, Charles will be hosting next week. McClay will be hosting next week, potentially. Of course, Florida High will be into the mix, so make sure you check the schedules, and we'll try to keep you up to date on that information as well. FHSA bracket link. We'll make sure to put a link here in the description of this video and up on the Tally SC Talk page that we have going on that stores all our podcasts, but still so much more action, man. But any more thoughts here on the U19s, or are we keeping the ship rolling?
No, let's keep going. Let's give the people what they want again.
There you go. All right, so we're going to jump out for a quick break here on the Tally SC Talk podcast. Come right on back. We got a little surprise going. We're going to talk about the tryouts upcoming this month here for the senior team. All right, and welcome back to the Tally SC Talk podcast here. Let's get into our next segment, not waste any time. Senior team tryouts rapidly approaching here for the Tallahassee Soccer Club. Trent, thoughts, man?
You were just saying it. If you're 16 or older, you can try out for the senior team.
Let's go.
February 19th, man, and that's 2/19. If you think about it, this is our second season doing the podcast. This is our 19th episode. I think it's just destiny, man. I think we need to get out there and give it a shot. So I'll see you out on them fields between 4 and 7 on the 19th. But, yeah, open registration. I don't know exactly where you have to go to do that. If you can just show up and register, if you have to do it ahead of time. We'll try to get you guys some info and some links posted below. But, yeah, we'll definitely keep you updated on all of our social media on tryout availability, registration, all that fun stuff. And, yeah, if you've got what it takes, or even if you don't, maybe you do. Who knows? You and I are going to be out there. We definitely don't have what it takes. So
don't tell anybody that.
Oh, yes. Hey, they didn't see us back in 2014 out there on that one field, but I don't know, the one out in front of FSU.
There you go, Langford Green, baby. That's where the magic happens, man.
Yeah. What do you guys know about playing soccer on Langford Green?
In the pitch black.
Trash.
There you go. But yeah, circle it back, Trent. And that's, of course, you can get any details for the Tallahassee Soccer Club on their social media, on the website. They'll make sure to keep you updated. So we'll put those links, of course, wherever you find this, whether you're tuning into the podcast or you're on the YouTube or you're on the website, trying to link everything up. We'll make sure to give that to you. Check back, though, because, of course, could be weather permitting. There could be some changes. We don't anticipate anything kind of chaotic. But Saturday, February 19th, happening for sure, 4 to 7 p.m. So it'll be kind of getting light. Shouldn't be too hot. Should be some fantastic weather, man. Hopefully there's a little briskness to it. Kind of feels like once you get that cold weather, start to feel like the soccer team, even though these guys will be playing in the heat of the summer. But, Trent, dude, anybody's open to come try out. You could be 45 if you're like, man, I don't want to play with these kids, but are they going to let me try out? I think I still got it. I say get in there, man. And maybe Coach Bruno will give you the nod. If you got what it takes, they don't care who you are, where you're from. As long as you're in the area and you're willing to make the commitment and you can attend practices and you're going to be in this game, man, they'll bring you in. Open tryouts, baby. It'll be the future of the program because we think we know who's coming back, Trent. But there could be some surprises, man, and we're looking forward to who's next. I want to know the people who we don't know about, man. Of course, putting the city on your chest, city on your back, an exciting atmosphere. This is the big show in town. Tally SC, man. Tallahassee Soccer Club, baby. There's nothing else. After baseball season, Florida State and Florida A&M are done. This is it. This is the show. This is under the lights. This is prime time. This is in the U.S. Soccer Pyramid. You could potentially, as TSC competes in the Lamar Open Hunt Cup for the U.S. soccer structure, if they win the conference and get a representation in the South region of the NPSL, NPSL gets a lot of bids in the Hunt Open Cup, Trent. Southern States is going to play up in there. You know, you could be too. You could play down the road. You could be playing some MLS competition. That's just crazy to think about. This is not a Sunday league. There are some big stakes at play, and you'll be playing in some legit markets and against some legit competition. So go try yourself out, man. You trying out this year, Trent, or are you going to be on the sidelines up in the booth this year?
I don't know, man. Last year I had a wicked goal from out of bounds on the track. Bent it all the way around, hit the back post, and went in. Pedley saw it, so I don't know, man. I'll probably be on the team. We'll probably have to find somebody else to do this pod with.
There you go. That was my biggest question. When I saw the notification of the tryouts, I was like, is Trent going to be trying out in the field or is Trent going to be trying out as a goalkeeper? So I'll let you keep that secret. We can put it up on the Twitter poll. Trent field, Trent keeper. Put some input there. Get some ideas, or what you think about the tryouts. Will you be able to make tryouts? If you're the public, if you're the listening audience, we want to know what you think. Hit us up, Tally SC Talk Media, or hit the mailbag, tallysctalk@gmail.com. Comment down below however you're hearing this. We'd love to hear the input because, like the club, community-based, people-focused, we want to be a bigger picture of that. Of course, getting to the listening audience, but we want this to be for you, with you, alongside you. This isn't just a us thing, man. This is to serve the TSC community. Trent, and we want to continue to do that. And we've been told that the podcast helps a little bit, so that's why we're back for episode 19, second season here of it, Trent. But anything else about the tryouts, 16 plus, good to go, February 19th, 4 to 7, man.
If you got your driver's license, you're 16, come on down.
You don't even need a driver's license, I don't think.
Well, you might.
I don't
Come
know
on
what they
down.
need. Registration details. Click the link. Check it out. So I don't want to say anything. The president's going to get pissed at us. Coach Bruno is going to track us down that we're causing shenanigans and making a barrier for people to entry. But there'll probably be a big turnout here. There was triple digits right around the area. Last time I remember going to the tryouts, tons of people. I did not try myself, but seeing the footage and everything from the tryout, there were a ton of people out there. A lot of quality soccer to be played. Give yourself a chance, man, to be part of something great, something fun, something for the community, by the community, of the community. But anything else on those tryouts, man, or can we keep this ship rolling?
Nah, dude, let's keep it going. One after another.
There we go. So that'll do it for the tryouts. Make sure you check out the TSC social media for more information. Coming forward, we're going to jump out for a quick break.
And welcome back. Trent Young here with Tally SC Talk Podcast. Joop, we got some news here with the club coming up in the coming months. What you got for us, man?
Absolutely. New development, Trent. We talk about a lot of new things, a lot of updates, a lot of changes in the offseason. TSC giving the community a big old hug. Everybody bring it on in. Everybody's head on Chris Petley's shoulder right now, president of Tallahassee Soccer Club. He and the board of directors have sponsored a new initiative going on here in the Big Bend. I absolutely love it. All in. It is a high school all-star game going on here in March. Official date, March 2nd. It's a Wednesday, so a little middle of the week action, of course, to start March Madness off well here. Trent, before you get into the college basketball craziness, how about a little all-star game? He's inviting all of the clubs here in the Big Bend, of course, the best and brightest from the high school scene. You will see out here, of course. This just broke last week. This was an idea last week that came to fruition. And I was a person in a group text that say, should we do an all-star game? Question mark. And evidently they got enough yeses, so it's happening. Already 8 schools are committed to it as I read the list off. Charles, Florida High, JP2, Leon, McClay, Wakulla, and I realize as I say that out loud, that is actually 7 schools. But all Big Bend schools have been, I've been told, issued an invitation or will be issued an invitation. So typically that's from Gadsden County to typically down to Taylor County is the metric there. But, you know, that area of high schools, best and brightest. TSC will be sponsoring an all-star game to showcase that. So super cool for the community, the youth, and an awesome event because we do have a football all-star game that takes place, but a lot of the other sports kind of get left out to dry. It's been a while since we had a soccer all-star game here from the high school level. So super cool that TSC is out in front of that and will be showcasing some of the young talent and the way these guys have been performing here. Some of the guys on the U19 team, we could be looking at a little crossover episode here, Trent. See them on Wednesday, March 2nd, man. Thoughts about the all-star game in general?
Yeah, it should be a good one, Jupe. So, like you said, we've got a lot of the local Tallahassee high schools coming in the area. A lot of these kids that played on the U19 team or potentially going to play on the U19 team for us at some point, either in the spring or next fall. So it'll be cool to see if these guys get matched up with each other, if they're on the same team and they're able to use some of that chemistry we talked about earlier, or, you know, if they're going to split up high schools and these guys got to go against each other, knowing each other's tendencies. That would actually be really cool to see as well. So just really cool that Tallahassee is sponsoring an event like this. Again, just showcasing the community, just giving back, doing what TSC does best, man. So I'm all for it, and I can't wait to hopefully be out there with you for that one, man.
Yeah, for sure. It should be wild. And like we said, this is not just for TSC U19 guys in high school. This is all schools eligible here in the high school. Of course, details still coming out, whether it's going to be seniors only or they're going to allow juniors and some other in the mix, or if it's just the best of the Big Bend. That's still to be determined. What we know is over half the schools that participate in boys soccer here in the Big Bend have been accepted. They've been invited, but they've also accepted, more importantly so, of course, an invitation to participate this and allow their guys have showed interest. They said, yeah, we would like to be a part of this. We'd love to play another game of soccer, high level, of course, all the best and brightest for the competition. So you could see some super cool mixes. You know, some of those Leon, Lincoln, Charles rivals, either on teams, on separate teams. Then you bring these JP2 guys and Florida High, some of those Southwood guys. Then you get a little West Side, maybe a little Monroe, maybe some Godby players, and kind of these geographical, how are they going to split it up? Is there going to be a draft? Who's going to coach these teams? Is Petley going to coach a team? Is Bruno going to coach a team? Is Coach Joel going to coach? Who's in there? You know, Coach Rico, is he going to get on there? And will he have to coach against his Florida High guys? Is Bruno going to have to coach against his Lincoln guys? I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on here, a lot of interesting ways that you can come through. So part of the excitement, along with the cool community aspect of this and hyping up our high school guys who soccer in the Big Bend, Trent, let's be frank, at the high school level, it's severely underserved. And there's not really a lot of publicity, and there's not really a lot of big-time stuff that gets onto the scene unless you're a team that's regularly going deep in the playoffs, like a Leon, like a Childs, like a Lincoln, like some of those other teams. McClay, of course, a state championship a couple times here in the last decade plus. Outside of those guys, there's not a lot of love, and that's one thing that they're bringing to the table, and a high-profile event. You know, I imagine some guys from TU would be coming down, some other area scouts potentially looking at this game, of course, to be broadcast as well, so who knows who's turning in, but high-level soccer at the high school level being showcased, a great community event, and you know the Gene Cox Stadium down on the south side, always a fantastic venue for live sporting events, Trent. So a lot of excitement there on the All-Star game. Anything else that's got you jazzed up?
Wednesday, March 2nd. We're talking about dates and how they correlate to us in our lives. Well, that's actually my mother's birthday, Wednesday, March 2nd. So it's like TSC is just reading my horoscope and setting all this stuff up, man. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
There you go, bringing Mama out to the All-Star game, man.
She's an all-star.
There you go. There you go. Stars of the same flock, man. Keep them together. All make up a beautiful nighttime sky is what I say. So really cool event, the TSC-sponsored high school all-star game. Details to become. Make sure, as always, check out TSC social media. We'll try to keep you updated as well, but some really cool stuff going on here. So let's wrap this up. We're going to jump out for a quick break and come back with our next topic here, the rumor mill. Come right on back. All right, welcome back to the Tally SC Talk podcast. Getting into our next segment, Rumor Mill. So these are things we've kind of heard that's kind of been talked about. Some things official, some things we can get into, some things we really can't get into, Trent. So that's why we're calling it the Rumor Mill, kind of a blanket terminology for some stuff that could happen, will happen, or is still ongoing to be developed. You will see more. And the first thing is, Trent, I'm going to be super vague with this. A lot of big things coming here with TSC for the spring. There are some verbal agreements that we have made that we cannot get into, but when it comes to coverage on TFC, you better buy the stock now, Trent, because it is skyrocketing. So get in on that, but a lot of cool announcements. So TSC is going to be on top of it. We're going to be on top of it. We'll spill the beans when we can of all later news upcoming. But let's get into some more tangible, some more realistic things. Rumor mill. Trent, we talked about the Pensacola game. We do have a tentative date set. Of course, it will have to be impacted by the schedule of the NPSL, which should be out by the next time we come to you, Trent. But, of course, we talked about the Pensacola game, not an official league game, but we do have a soft date. What is that?
That would be July 16th, Andrew Joop. And funny enough, July 19th is my dad's birthday. Not quite the trifecta we were hoping for. Close. I put it in the notes just in case. I had to double check my dad's Facebook. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, man, for sure though. July 16th, they're going to be out there playing Pensacola. Actually, I don't know if it's going to be out there, if it's going to be here. Never mind, it's going to be here.
Tallahassee, baby. They got to come to us. We don't know if it's going to be a home and away series, but at very bare minimum, they will be coming here, like we said, soft date, July 16th. Continue on.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, that's pretty much everything I was going to say, exactly what you said right there. So thank you for telling me that. So, yeah, that'll be here at home. You don't even have to travel. Well, I guess you do, unless you live at the stadium.
True.
What? Why are you shaking your head?
Ned, I know of nobody lives at the stadium, so that is a true. I was saying you cannot just wake up and show up there.
I'm sorry, dude.
Property of Leon County Schools, so if you are living there, just a heads up, you may be getting kicked out of there soon. But Trent, yes, to continue on, we'll be making the trip out there. Should be fun. July 16th, maybe. Like we said, all playing into the kind of rumor mill situation here. But we were told by the higher-ups at TSC, yes, you can publicize the date, put pressure on those Pensacola boys to be honoring their word. Because we need this A50 Cup. It's not just about us. It's not just about TSC. It's not just about PFC, that game. The A50 is at stake here. Florida Roots also involved, Trent. And so this is a lot bigger than just the TSC organization. So we got to make that clear. But we were told we got to go ahead to give that information. Of course, the first piece of news was very vague. This one, a little more concrete. A50 Cup still alive. Trent, let's keep on going. What are some more news, noise, rumors, other things that you're hearing that we can get into a little bit?
For sure, dude. So April 23rd, that is going to be our preseason game, not the first game of the season, the regular season. It'll be the first game for Tallahassee, game 0. Correct. So that'll be April 23rd at Thomas University in Thomasville, Georgia. That one you will have to travel a little bit for, unless you already live there or near. Dang, I keep telling people to trespass on these campuses. I apologize. But
we at Tallahassee Talk Podcast do not authorize, for the record, trespassing of any kind of especially sporting event stadium. That TSC also participates in soccer games. But yes, Trent, exciting times. Continue on.
Yeah, dude, that'll just be a preseason game.
Keep it rolling. You got it. I believe. The people believe in you, Trent.
Oh, the people believe. All right. Well, if the people believe, then I hope they'll be there in full attendance to support TSC. So that'll be a good chance to go ahead and get an early look at the team build and who's going to be on the roster, who's not.
Mm-hmm.
That probably won't be the final 11, 15, however many we carry throughout the entire season.
No.
But, that'll just be a nice tease. You can go and just wear your battle line gear and get out there and warm your voice up for the Gene Cox Stadium later on in the season.
Yeah, absolutely. So the rumor has it, and this is kind of why it's part of the rumor segment. I know we talked about it. This is kind of the 6.5. This is the half part of that home game slate because, it's local. We're not going to Jacksonville, New Orleans. We're not going to Central Florida, anything like that. Of course, just going north of the border into South Georgia. So this is kind of that half home game. But in the past, typically this has just been a scrimmage. Basically, we roll up there, throw on some pennies, play the college team at Thomas University there. Of course, Coach Bruno, historic alum for Thomas University. Coach Joel, also with Thomas University ties. So, of course, a lot of crossover. They are our closest college with an officially NCAA-sanctioned men's soccer team, of course. Club teams here at FAMU and FSU. But, of course, on top of that, Trent, this is not, we've been told, will not be taking part at the practice fields like it usually is. They're going to break out the big stadium for us this year, which is the rumor. So hopefully we'll be able to have fans in large context, and this will be more publicized than it typically is. Kind of behind closed doors typically has what it's been the last couple times that they've done it. But this may be out open in the books, man, and help add to that 12-game slate, which is a decrease from the 14 games that we saw last year. So some big-time stuff. Any other thoughts to us going north of the border and maybe some potential rumors, Trent, coming to the table that we can spill the beans on or maybe have a slight reference to?
Yeah, so as far as Tally SC Talk podcast is concerned, for future episodes, I know that we are in the works of getting another Chris Petley interview, a State of the Union address from the president himself. So we'd like to keep him involved with this as much as possible because, this is his team. He's the one calling all the shots. He's the one out there telling Bruno who to put out there. No, I'm joking.
That's right. It's not Petley's team. He's lost control of the ship. It's the People's Club. Don't tell Petley is not a he's not a dictator, Trent. This is a People's Club. Don't get it twisted. That's right. He is the president. He's not the owner. As we look at the LinkedIn page, Trent, and of course board of directors, including a representative elected from the membership. This is a member-funded, nonprofit organization. And, of course, members represented by the representative on the board of directors. Petley is just a president, man. And so, of course, this is not his call. This is the people's call. But keep on rolling. We'd like to keep the people involved. Petley's just one of those people, Trent. Continue as you were.
Of course. Yeah, but a couple other things, we're looking to do some potential rankings, some of our favorite players, people that we could potentially like to enjoy a nice cold adult beverage with. So we are, looking over some of those options now, trying to get our list in check. But yeah, just going to be talking about some returning players and previewing the season going forward. Hopefully here within the next week, we will have the hard schedule for the season. And that won't be a rumor. We'll be able to disclose that to you guys very soon. So make sure you guys tune back in very shortly. We'll keep you updated on all things TSC.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So those are some of the future episodes. We're hoping to grab some of the U19 guys, of course, get those interrogations of interest, as we called them last year. Of course, if you've been with us for a little bit here, talk to some of the senior team guys. Want to do some profiles, get a little bit into the team here, a little more player emphasis. I'm sure you guys are sick of us at this point. Let's talk to the players. Let's talk to the people in this organization that do a lot of this cool stuff, because this is a for the people, by the people kind of team here. Born, bred for the Big Bend, Tallahassee, South Georgia, North Florida, baby. So we want to continue to keep that process going. Also, Trent, as we talk about what's next, future of the podcast, we've got 2 months of content we got to get going. Make sure to give us suggestions. What do you want to hear? This is for you. Trent and I talk about TSC on the phone all the time. The podcast isn't for us. So what do you want to hear? Make sure to hit us up social media, TSC social media, Tally SC Talk is where you can find us. Of course, tallysctalk@gmail.com. You can hit that mailbag for suggestions, questions, guest appearances, all that kind of stuff going forward. But, yeah, let's do some opponent previews, Trent. Let's talk about New Orleans. How'd they do last year? What are they bringing to the table this year? What do you think about New Orleans? And then we can talk about all the other clubs. Let's talk about Southern States, who's representing our conference in the U.S. Open Lamar Hunt Cup. Coming up here is I never get that name of that tournament correct. I think it's the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup. But who knows? So whatever it is, if you know it, bam, correct me. I'm an idiot. I know that. Leave that down here below, Trent. But, yeah, so much upcoming, so we'll have some fun with it. We'll try to keep it light, but we'll try to keep it intellectual as well. We want you to learn things. We want you to have fun, and we want you to learn about these players, because the players is what fuel the team, man. And just like Petley's always saying, just like the board of directors is always saying, is a volunteer organization, people who love the game, love their city, and love spending time around soccer like we do, Trent, putting this on and try to get a next-level soccer thing for the city and for the community that we care about, man. And so just giving those players an outlet and focusing on them. And who knows? Maybe they get some a little extra looks. And maybe a little extra publicity never hurt anybody when you're talking about next level soccer, man. We got some D1 guys on this team that we can talk about, as we sure will get into some previews. We got some conference champions over at UWF, D1 guys up at Akron. We got some guys that have been at Wofford for a while. Who's coming back? What are some changes? Who do we want to be back? What are some things we want to see for the team? Trent, man, there's such a bright future here in the next 2 months. So, of course, we'll have all that covered for you. But anything else upcoming, Trent, that we can spill the beans for the people, or are they just going to have to come back and get with us?
Nah, man, I think that's it for today. I know we both got to hit the hay soon and get to work in the morning, so the listeners will have to tune back in next time. But don't worry, guys. We'll definitely have some more content very shortly.
Absolutely. So let's go ahead and wrap this bad boy up. The new return, episode 19. Thank you so much for coming aboard with us, and make sure you can continue to support. Man, I can't even talk. It's getting late, like we said, Trent. Make sure you continue to support all TSC ventures and stuff, improving here of the South Georgia, North Florida community, soccer community, and all the people involved in there. We'll be back, like we said, trying to get a weekly basis of what you should see us coming through here with, of course, people that are more interesting and more knowledgeable than us, which is essentially the big draw. So thank you for putting up with us. We'll be back shortly. Andrew Joop, Trent Young on the other side of the line, whether he's to the right or to the left, up on your Facebook social media. But thank you for coming aboard. More TSC info coming up for your Tallahassee Soccer Club, the Battle Lions, to the goal in 2022 in less than 3 months. And boy, does that have a nice ring. Take care and have a good one.